So welcome everybody to our pause. It's easier than you think, episode 13. And I wanted to do this episode on a very famous phrase that we all have either heard or we've heard it in different ways. And it is the Great Maya Angelou who said, Ms Angelou, that said, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. Let's sit with that for a moment. When people show us who they are, believe them the first time. And I have a lot of thoughts about this statement because I think it's loaded. I think the statement's loaded. And I think it's also really great for teens to understand this statement. When people show you who they are, believe them. Because I think this is when it starts. I think that teen energy of really wanting to belong, really wanting to be chosen to be part of a group, peer pressure, conformity and all of that. This statement can actually go sideways throughout people's lives. So why does the great Ms Angelou say, believe them the first time? I think we miss the first time. And we see things multiple times, you know that expression, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, fool me a third time, shame on both of us for actually keeping on with this dance, right? So we know all these old expressions, and these old expressions come into play in our life to remind us of age-old sayings come from something. Now, she said this of, believe the first time, because we have an inbuilt chip. We have an inbuilt chip that we develop when we're in our teens, because our hormones are all over the place. We are going through puberty, and we're very good at scanning to see who is for real, legit, good for us. But depending on our need to disconnect that inner knowing and wanting to belong to, say, a gang, a group, right? They're the two extremes, right? The popular group or a gang in some people's cases, depending on where they're brought up. You override when people show you who they are. Believe them. That's what she says. Now, why don't we believe them? Why do we not want to believe them? There's also the default that I hear a lot, because they just, they don't want to think bad of people. And here's the thing about good and bad and right and wrong. It's not about thinking bad of someone. It is actually seeing reality. And what you're doing is you're negating what you're seeing with no good, bad, right and wrong. And you are diminishing it and negating it because there is an agenda sometimes on your behalf because you want to belong to that group, or you do business with them, or they're an in-law, or it's your brother, or it's someone you want to do business with, or it's someone of influence. So it's very loaded. So let's just sit with that, right? She tells us, you know, to believe them the first time. And we also give people the benefit of the doubt. There's another expression for you, right? Let's just give that person the benefit of the doubt. Okay. So step one, doubting your own intuition, doubting your own gut, your own sixth sense, your own higher wisdom, your own divine connection, your own connection to spiritual consciousness. So what you're doing is you're saying, I'm mistrusting my own message, my own innate ability to read that something isn't quite kosher. There's another expression for you. So we override, and the more we override that divine wisdom, the more it starts to go offline. Because you are saying, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't just go forward. You just know who they are. But what we do is we start to create something that they are not. Sometimes to legitimize our friendship or our business dealings. So it really is a very loaded statement that is being said here. And it is actually easier than you think, just to, you know, okay, note to self. But our overriding has a blowback on ourselves. And sometimes we don't want to believe it. Right? We're in shock because we may like that person, or we had an expectation of them to be something else and we decided to override the creepiness. Or we decided to override that thing that was gnawing at us, or that one piece of something. Because we were entertained by them. And usually through maturity, emotional maturity, we learn to go less against our own knowing and accept people for who they are. Without then people don't disappoint you as much because you already know who they are, right? You're not trying to dress them up as something that they're not, or apologize for them. A lot of people go around apologizing for others because they have some investment with them. Oh, well, you know, they don't mean to come across like that. They're just, you know, they're going through stuff. You know, it gets a little trickier when it's your boss or you're having business dealings with people. You know, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. Because there's sometimes livelihoods at stake, right? And we decide to override what is being presented to us. And that will eventually, and that's why the Great Maya Angelou says, believe them the first time. Because sometimes it takes multiple times of being diminished, being stung, being ignored, bullied in very subtle ways, that, you know, are people just very forgiving, or do they not want to deal with the confrontation within themselves of having to, you know, this culture is just not for me, or I can find somebody else that I can do business with. It's inconvenient, because we love convenience. That's why there's convenience stores and Amazon Prime at 24 hours that you can get a delivery. Because it's inconvenient, right? But mostly people show you who they are. And those people also legitimize them. And it creates a whole structure and system. So how do we deal with it? You know, you cannot avoid sometimes Machiavellian characters. You can't avoid, maybe you even live with someone that is, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. But you're trying to change their nature. You're trying to dress something up in your head of who someone is that you are sharing space with, that I see it sometimes with teenagers when they go off to college, or even teens at college. Well, I'm going to be in a dorm with this person for the next 4 years. I just better get on with it. And this person is going to be in your friend group. It's going to be in your... So you can either ignore, or you can accept who the person is, right? It's like you want a dog, but you've got a feral cat, right? That bites every so often. Or you have someone that's moody and aloof. But you have to decide, rather than trying to make excuses for their moodiness and their aloofness, you either have to decide that you love that person and you love that this is their nature. And looking at the part of yourself that it's okay for you to love their moody and aloofness, if that's who you're in love with. If it's someone that you're working with, that might be a different story. You might be like, I don't really love their moody and aloofness as my boss and not getting any recognition. This is really not the culture for me. But again, it's inconvenient. But is it inconvenient? Is it really inconvenient when you start to weigh things up in the long term? Is it inconvenient to just start looking for things and be in the joy of and the empowerment of that, of knowing what's right for you? Or would you rather, they call it burnout, right? They call it burnout. But to me, that's just someone staying too long in a job that isn't meant for you. and you ignoring the flags, or it's just too inconvenient for you to look elsewhere. Then you have to look at why you're not the priority. And the joy of looking elsewhere, and the joy of knowing that there's something better out there for you, or start your own thing. But then we also have the charm and the charisma, right? The charm of when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Because sometimes what she's talking about there also, I believe, and I'm sure she met many people like this, were people who were extremely charismatic and charming. And you get pulled in by them. And they're helpful maybe to your career, or they're helpful to your business, or they're helpful with connections. But they are poisonous over a long period of time. Because you're poisoning your own well. Of knowing sometimes that you're pandering to something that isn't good for you. Or feeling a little bit like that you're making excuses. And sometimes it's difficult, and it's sometimes scary, right? To change things up. But I think once you embrace change as being part of the human journey, I think it takes a lot of pressure off of a lot of your life. There's also the expression of when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. Sometimes we see people who are really truthful and very authentic, but sometimes that's a little too much for people, because we get so used to people, promoting themselves, or maybe we're so used to the yarn being spun. We're so used to the entertainer that we forget also that there are people that show you who they are consistently, but there's no drama there, right? I mean, we all love drama. Human beings love drama. And once we start to move out of that as a species, or as adults, we start to develop in a different way. Because sometimes also, as the saying goes, believe them the first time. When people show you who they are, believe them. Sometimes you think you can handle it, and you bite off more than you can chew. That's another old expression. You think you can handle the boss that's abrasive and a bully, because it's only going to be for a couple of years or 3 years. Or I can handle it, it's fine, or maybe it's been in relationships. The other expression is, you were in way over your head. In way over your head. And the reason for these things are, and it varies on a degree. I'm all about the spectrum of our awareness. And that can sometimes be naivety, arrogance. We think we can handle it. We're naive. Sometimes it's excitement. It doesn't matter. I'll figure it out, Excitement of the opportunity. You don't really think that you're in way over your head. Sometimes it's pressure from others. And sometimes it's just pure unawareness that you're out your depth. And it can be humiliating. But you also gain a lot of humility as we navigate through life. In our own unawareness of, wow, I didn't think that mattered. I didn't think it mattered that I had that coach that totally broke me down, and it has taken me years to recover from it. I didn't realize that I had, that kind of thinking, that I was always giving a pass to people who didn't treat me right. So I think this expression is loaded, as we can see from just this short talk. What Ms Angelou had to say about it. When people show you who they are, believe them. Words have become contaminated. I'll say that again. Words have become contaminated. People say things because it sounds good. You know, my favorite one in the healing community and the wellness is, you just need to let that go. But the people, and it's true, you do, but the battle it takes to identify, firstly, what you need to let go, and B, the struggle to let it go and come out intact, is so brave and so fierce that the glibness of that statement is also in the realms of when people show you who they are, believe them. Because I think wellness and the healing arena, shall we call it arena, has become glib. And when people show you who they are, but we have to see it. We have to see the fame monster or, whatever it is that they are craving. You see, I'm very entertaining, but I'm not an entertainer. I'm a teacher. I'm a spiritual teacher. And that to me has a weight. So I cannot diminish what my students are put through the grinder to come out the other side as transformed beings. So the subtlety of when people show you who they are, believe them, is really loaded. Because we really like people, right? It's like that woman, Ruby, that had the big YouTube channel, who was doing her kids' education or whatever she was. Everybody was so entertained by her, chastising and bullying and torturing her children. And people reported her because they believed what they were seeing. And other people diminished it. And we're like, oh no, she's so nice, because they got so pulled in. We get so pulled into the way people look, right? We have to read the energy. Because it's so subtle. And with AI coming, it's here. You're going to have to really trust yourself. And trust when you know something is off, or when something isn't landing right. How many of you are seeing so many ads about digital marketing? Are you wanting to earn this? You could just like do this and do that and sell it to you and upsell it and do all of this. I'm seeing lots of it. But when we're dealing with our spirit and our soul, to me, I've always had a very high standard of who I'm tuning into. A very high barometer of, you know, even when I was looking for my own Reiki master, when my dad was clinically depressed, many, many decades ago. I'd met Reiki people for years, and I didn't resonate with any of them. And that's okay. Something just felt that this was not for me. Until my father's depression, when I got the message that I had to, you know, do this for my father's head, for his depression. And I met a few, and I really tuned in, and I looked at that statement of when people show you who they are, believe them. And I felt a lot of people were trying to sell something to me, that they were connected to the Bodhisattva, that they were ching with a singing bowl. But I also trusted that our calendars just never connected. So I knew there was something, this was not my person, to keep on looking. I've had people who have come from other lineages who have said, oh, I knew I needed to come to you, but I didn't. I went to someone else. And now I need to come to you because I just don't feel whatever they don't feel. And I'm like, okay, but you overrode it in that thing again of when people show you who they are, we sometimes actually turn away from it. We're getting shown the path. We're being shown what to do, but it's too much work. It's sometimes easier to be with people that are not pushing us and not making us look. But in the long term, that also doesn't serve us very well. So a real loaded statement by Maya Angelou. When people show you who they are, believe them the first time. It doesn't mean you have to go around avoiding everybody. I mean, I know a lot of people who are blunt, are some people would say are difficult. But I actually appreciate that and I like that. So it's really not it doesn't turn me off. I just accept that that's who they are. I accept that this is a way they express themselves that's different from me, but I can appreciate. Because sometimes we like people who are stroking us all the time, stroking us. It's kind of like if I had a personal trainer, I wouldn't want someone telling me I'm doing great all the time. I would want someone correcting my form. I would want someone adjusting me, just like I do if I do a yoga class. And sometimes we don't like people adjusting us. We become sensitive to it. So then we turn to the people that, we can fawn on. So it's a very loaded statement, and we've covered quite a bit of it. Does anybody have any questions or suggestions about what has been discussed? I know it's a very simple statement that has been made, but it's so loaded. And that's the thing about energy. It's so nuanced and in singularity. Thank you. Oh, the colour of my sweater. Oh, thanks, Meg. She's saying it all resonates so much right now. Yes, because we're in a very... I don't like to use the word intense. I just think it's a very... we're seeing things very clearly. Right? We're seeing how people are trying so hard, and I think this is the great thing about this, our connection with on social media. This is an amazing thing about social media, right? I don't have a script in front of me. I don't have producers. I'm just talking to you heart to heart about what is coming down the pipe. I'm not trying to present something, right? I'm in the middle of doing my taxes. I'm just, I'm going to take my dogs out after this. I'm just wanting to deliver a message that has, when you fan it out, it has so many levels to it. But I want to go back to the first thing of what she says about believe them the first time, because you are your own worst enemy. And you start to drift away from your connection when you start to negate seeing who people are and then making excuses for them. Or not believing. I don't want to, I like to think the best of people, Patty. Yes, so do I, but I also like to see reality. I see reality. It's not a good or a bad, it just is. It just is. But the more we say that things aren't what they are or make excuses for things, the more we are disconnecting from ourselves. And saying that I don't trust myself. Or the message that I'm reading here. I want to give that person the benefit of the doubt. How many times have you said that and then you're like, oh, well, there you are, I was right the first time. Now, if you are a creative person, right? People who are creative, and I work with creatives all the time, I'm here in Hollywood. They have to trust that. When people are writing and they're on $50 million film sets. They cannot doubt what they are reading or what they're seeing with the actor or with a scene that's just not right. They have to trust what is presenting itself and come up with a solution. And also in their own writing or their own acting, they have to get very honest with themselves about their own craft. You know, the people around them who maybe don't even want them to succeed, or who are with them because they're just keeping them in their circle in case anything happens, but they don't really, you know, want them to do that well. They're very tuned into it, creatives or entrepreneurs. Because they cannot afford the leakage of choosing people, whether it's a DP or a coach, that makes them believe that they have bit off more than they can chew and go on set and not actually have studied enough to play this part. We all want to do well, we all want to be good at what we do. But the thing is, when people want to be great, they want the truth. And the truth sometimes has aspects that tell you your form's off, or where you need to adjust, or where you need to pivot. And those are the people that you want to have around you the first time. When people show you who they are, if people are showing you that they told the truth in a say actors, and you have an acting coach that is just not being honest with the other actors. They're telling them that they're okay, they're doing okay, but are they going to come to the next workshop? You want someone who is a teacher that is able to tell you in a kind way, but you are able to take that information in to be like, oh, that's what I'm doing. Okay, what is it I need to do to be better and quickly? Right? But a lot of the time we push that away. That can even go into health, right? When people show you who they are, the first time, believe them. It's also, you know, that's an aspect to yourself. How you say maybe you're going to go on a cleanse, or you're going to come off a coffee, or you're going to do these things, and you're going to, you know, go for a walk after dinner, but you don't do it. You don't follow through. Sitting with what is it that will help me follow through? Do I need a buddy system? Do I need someone that I know that shows up that might be annoying to other people, but that's what I need in my life right now? So see how it works? Because that could benefit me to bring those kind of people into my life. That usually, if you're not the kind of person that gets things done, you don't want them around. So, just some thoughts. Good to see you all. And I look forward to seeing some of you in this month's events, which are many, as we navigate this April eclipse season and energies. Good to see you. Great feedback. And I'm glad that it resonated. I'll post this for later on YouTube so that you can have the full version. But yeah, it's all up to you guys. I mean, no one's going to come in and step in and say, oh, by the way, you're wasting time. You're wasting time with these people. You're wasting time doing this thing. There's no adjudicator giving you a mark. That's you. You can spend your time, you could spend your entire life wasting your time, killing time. No one's going to stop you. That is the secret. No one's going to come in and stop you except you. If you're lucky, if you're connected, if you're seeking that connection, you will do it. But I think it's sad. That to me is sad. That no one tells you. No one tells people. The moment you activate, the moment you sincerely say, I'm done. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. Not when the student is scrolling through Instagram and the marketed teacher appears. You need to have a sense of humor with all of this, or you go nuts, right? You get bitter. You get like, oh, why is that? I don't like that. Because it's a game. It's a game. And you have to weed through everything. So, love you all. Take care.